welcome everybody. We are here once again for another great show. I hope everybody is doing great. Everybody's out doing their thing. I know I am. It is summertime, so I'm busy out in the yard, out in the gardens, doing lots of stuff, working on my food forest. So been very busy, but I am excited to be here. We got a great guest lined up. We're going to be covering a lot of important topics, I feel, that are very important in what's going on in our world today. These are uncomfortable topics. These are topics that make people uneasy to talk about. But you know me, I think that is where great things can happen, is when you are willing to bring these topics to the front, talk about them openly, and I think that is where great things can happen when this is allowed to take place. And I think people that ignore these or push them down because they are uncomfortable to talk about is not the way to go. You have to talk about these things, and these are going to be some uncomfortable topics, hard topics, as I said, but I'm willing to go in there. No topic for me is off limits. I really, truly do stand by that, and I'm going to prove it today with my guest. We are going to be getting into some great stuff here, so I don't want to babble too much at the beginning here because I'd rather get to my guest. I'm excited to get them on the show once again. I've had them on a few times, and amazing. I learned so much from them. I had them on my radio show. They've been on the Crypt, Rick and Jonathan show, so I'm excited. I am just going to go ahead and get my guest on here. Just give me one sec here, guys. There we go. Alrighty, welcome, Will Keller. It's so great to have you back. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Rick. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to this convo.
I am too. What I've been thinking about since we started putting this interview together and talking about doing it, and I really do pride myself, Will, on being willing to go into the hard areas, the hard topics, because as I was saying at the beginning, I think that is what needs to be done, and I think a lot of people avoid them. They are uncomfortable topics we're going to be getting into, but they need to be talked about. But before we do that, I just want to give you a chance right here at the beginning. I know that Funnel 3 is really approaching quick, and I want to let this moment to let everybody know. I'd like to have you let people know how Funnel started, and then talk about Funnel 3 and what people can look forward to coming up.
Excellent. Yeah, no, we have the third Freedom Under Natural Law Conference, and this is a free online event. We have fantastic presenters. It's going to be June 24th and 25th. So this will be online. It's free to the public. You can go to freedomundernaturallaw.com. You can register and get all the links there, and check out all the presenters. We have a high caliber A-list of just fantastic truth seekers and truth speakers. So the Funnel Conference, it started with actually from a support group during the whole pandemic. Like-minded individuals, most of us in our local area kind of connected on social media, and we started doing Sunday support meetings where we would just, support each other in our projects and our endeavors, what we had going on in our lives. And we did this for, well over a year and a half. And then it got to the point, as we started getting close, we started going out onto the street and doing street promotions, setting up booths, talking about natural law, freedom, human rights, and that kind of led the springboard to taking on bigger projects. And then we decided to do an online virtual event, and we titled it Funnel, which is an acronym for Freedom Under Natural Law. So Funnel 1 was just our group as presenters. It was a huge success. Then we moved to Funnel 2, and that was called Convergence. We brought on outside content creators. That was even a bigger success. We had tons of support, and now we're at Funnel 3. And I'm very honored to have you, Rick, on as part of the organizers, and really looking forward to it. So that's June 24th and 25th next month.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to make sure that I leave links for all of that so you guys can go and register. And what I think, too, Will, just to wrap it up, that is really unique about Funnel is that at the end, I like to let people know that at the end of each day, if you have questions for any of the speakers that you hear that day, write them down, because at the very end of the day, there's going to be a live panel. There's going to be a round table of all those all the presenters for that day. And if you want to ask them questions, you're going to be able to do that. I think that makes it very unique, and it's really cool that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, the presentations are phenomenal.
Right.
The round table at the end is my favorite part, right? Because now we're live. We're doing the round table live. We can take questions. We can have people call in and ask their questions live, or take them through the chat, and we really get this chemistry of going back and forth on these topics. And like you said, starting this interview, right? We need to get out of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the lessons lie. So it's really important to have these conversations. And, with the topics that are going to go down today, if you are emotionally unstable, which you will know if you are, if you get triggered, right? You'll feel it inside you. You will have a physical response. You need to observe that and ask yourself why. But this is how we evolve in consciousness. We have these tough conversations, and we use our main quality as human beings, and that's logic and reason and care. And we work through these topics to get to a solution of higher consciousness.
I agree. Well said, my friend. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like I said, I think that just that having that round table at the end to me is so unique. And so I just hope that people are, when they do, write your questions down, guys, and they can get answered. And I think that's great. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm glad to be a part of it. Very excited. It's coming up, guys. I will leave links in the description. With that out of the way, though, Will, we got some great topics to get into, some important topics, and I think we should start, because I think this is going to lay the foundation and we can build off of this. And it's a topic that I hear people discuss a lot, and people do get I get different reactions when this topic is brought up. And I just want to ask you, and start at just point blank, the current way that humanity is and the way that society is structured, are we living in a slave system?
Excellent question. So what we need to do is we need to observe society, right? We need to observe the greater world, and we can even do this within our local areas as well. And the foundation to this question, the answer, is understanding who we are and why are we here, and of course the interactions that we have with the natural world and with each other, right? So this is rooted in natural rights. I mean, if you look at, the government and the structures of civilization that we have, it's all based on, well, they call it democracy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, even in some countries, you have communism and all these other terms and labels, but what do they mean? What are they constructed of? What are the effects? So even if we say that we have a democratic society, and we're in, I'm in America, so we consider this a free country,
Mm-hmm.
but is it really, right? So we need to understand what freedom is, and this is all based on natural rights. So I'm going to define freedom, the most important topic for human beings, for everything, for reality, existence. Freedom is unrestricted free will expression, right? You have the right to live, to exist, to evolve, to move forward, to progress.
Mm-hmm.
This is what consciousness is all about. It wants to expand. It wants to have more complexity and uniqueness. So this is, I mean, we can see this in the natural world, from, plant life to animals, plant life expanding and propagating, right? I mean, you're a gardener, so
Yep.
if you don't maintain your garden, it will grow out of your garden and it will keep growing.
Yep.
Same with your lawn, any type of landscape. This is what it wants to do. It wants to spread and propagate. Animals want to roam and they want to propagate and reproduce. And same thing with humans, right? We want to interact. We want to grow and expand, right? So this is expressing our free will choice as human beings. So if it's unrestricted free will expression, the opposite of freedom is restricted free will expression, controlling your ability to be free, to express yourself. So this is, goes hand in hand with natural rights. We have the right to live. We have the right to exist. So what is a right?
That's a key question. And I've asked people that,
Yeah.
Will, and they don't know. They can't give you a definition of it. They go all over the. I've had people say that a right is something the government gives you. Very rarely, very rare does somebody tell me the real definition of a right.
Yeah, it's incredible, but it's so foundational, right? I mean, and
Hmm.
this is when people want to spread awareness and try to connect with someone, start very simply on the foundation. If we don't have our foundation solid, then the walls, the roof, as an allegory, are just going to crumble down.
Hmm.
So, what is a right? The definition of a right is any action or behavior that does not cause harm to another being, right?
Right.
Meaning that you are not restricting their free will expression. So this is very important. And we look at all the governments and we look at society, and we must observe this. Are we expressing ourselves unrestricted? And if you're being honest with yourself, the answer is no. On a day-to-day basis, we are, until you have interactions with, police
Yep.
and either the military or the government. We can look at taxation. We can look at traffic stops, right? These are, I mean, the traffic stops is just literally pirates stopping you. There's no victim, there's no harm caused, no right has been violated. They're stopping you from a relative code or regulation that a group of people deem is necessary to extort funds, resources from you. So there's the violation right there, saying, oh, you weren't wearing a seatbelt, or you have a tail light out, or you are traveling upon the earth without the documents that
Right.
we say you must have, right? So what is going on is there's the violation of a natural right there. So this is a claim. What they are saying and what this means is that you cannot travel upon the earth, and I'm using this as an example. There's
Okay.
many examples, but traveling as the example, right? You cannot travel upon the earth, move upon the earth, um, unless you have these documents, unless we say you can. So this is a claim of ownership, saying we own your persons, your
Hmm.
body, your property. This is what our body and what we own is. This is our property. Um, so that's the claim of ownership. Now, that is another definition. That is the definition of slavery. Now, when I say this word, the majority of people instantly go to a self-perceived definition, right? I
Right.
mean, in
Absolutely.
America, when you say slavery, the majority of people think of the Civil War era with black chattel slavery,
Yep.
which that's a horrible time period. And I will say this: every race on this planet has been in shackles and chains. Every race.
That's very
So
true.
that's a limited perception of just referring to that time, that horrible time period in history, in American history. So, but that is a limited perception, right? The actual definition of slavery is a claim of ownership
Hmm.
upon another. That's it. So when we look at taxation, we look at license, permits, all of this stuff. Everything that how government operates is a claim of ownership, right?
Absolutely.
So it's
Yep.
saying it's based upon moral relativism, saying that you must obey our dictates and commands. So it's creating a master class and a slave class. If you do not obey the master class and its dictates, then you will be harmed. You will be violated. You will be put into submission by any means necessary, even death. So when we ask ourselves, are we living in a slave system? The answer is absolutely yes. Doesn't matter if you think that human structure, human beings need some type of leadership or cooperation or organization. That's a whole separate conversation.
Right.
We can organize and cooperate and build systems that interact with each other without violating natural rights.
A
without
voluntary system is what I like to
ab-
call it.
absolutely. Think
Yeah.
about your day-to-day life, right? You go to work voluntarily, right? You go to the store voluntarily. People bag your groceries. You get to choose what you want to buy. So most of our interactions on a day-to-day basis are it's voluntary interactions.
Hmm.
Yet there is this system that is claiming ownership upon human beings, upon animals, upon the land, the air, the earth, the water, right? You can look at, another acronym for law is land, air, water.
Hmm.
So when we look at man's law, it's human beings claiming the land, air, and water and everything that is on that
Right.
within that system.
That's the problem. Wow. And what I wanted to ask you is, you were talking about travel, how they were restricted, and it just I want to touch on this before we go any further, just because I've had this conversation very recently with a friend of mine, and we got into this because, as you know, what's going on in the news, they're talking about this people coming over the border, and this is a big debate right now that people are just flooding over the border. Now, what I want to ask you is, because we're talking about laws, and I get it, and the reason I'm kind of coming at this from the devil's advocate kind of point of view, Will, and kind of like my friend was talking, and we were just going back and forth. I just want to discuss this,
Mm-hmm.
is why I bring it up.
Cool.
I totally get that we should be able to move free wherever we want. We should be able to go where we want and not be restricted. My friend was kind of saying that the dynamic of this changes when you start adding borders. This is where the dynamic changes, because that's kind of like where he was like going with it, is that, okay, like, I get it, you should be able to move freely anywhere you want, and if we didn't have borders, that would make total sense. But as soon as you start putting borders up, that's where the argument comes in. I just want to get your thoughts on that, and
Yeah.
just out of the blue, I just sorry I sprung it on you, but I'm just really
No, it's
curious.
fine. I get these type of questions all the time when I'm interacting with people,
Cool.
and we need to understand the philosophy, right? The philosophical aspects and truth, right? Like what I was just stating is truth.
Right.
It's objective truth, right? Rights are objective. So now most people, when they hear this type of information, they look at the world and they immediately just take out government. So the world we're living in now, let's just take out government, right?
Yep.
So it's going to be chaos, and there's going to be death and mobs and all this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand that the way society is right now, it is inverted. We are in opposition to the rhythm of life and how things are. So when we're talking about a society based in true freedom, this is going to be a long progression of learning and discussion, right? It's not going to just happen overnight. I mean, so
I
we
totally
need
agree.
we need to understand, and most people want to know, they want to ask all these questions and get into the details. Well, how is this going to work? And how is that going to work? Right. But you're giving validity to the system that's in place now. Like, explain a system better than what we have now. And you're giving validity to slavery, violence, and duress.
Right.
So we need to understand that this is what human beings do. We need to discuss and use our logic and reason. And there's a lot of things that we're not going to have the answers for. And we're going to have to figure out, like adults, right? Like grown, spiritual human beings. And we're going to figure this out. The path forward in harmony with nature, truth, and freedom, right, is untold. And we're going to have to walk that path. And this is where the fear of freedom comes in. People think about the unknown and they get scared. It creates a reaction, the fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And that unknown is so scary for them, they would rather just stay in the slave bubble, right? Because they have their Netflix and their Amazon packages with the little smiley faces being delivered to them. So they're content. Comfort is stagnation. Comfort is death.
That's so
right?
true. That's
so
true.
When we talk about borders, right, these imaginary lines, this is a concept made up by human beings that does not exist in truth, in nature, in the natural world, right? So no, this should not exist. But, this opens up for all these different you know, points of discussion,
Hmm.
and some are valid, but we need to get down to the foundational level and understand that this is going to be a multiple generation endeavor,
I
but we
agree. I've been
must
saying
do
that.
it because it is the right thing. The path humanity is walking right now in opposition to nature, to truth, will lead to destruction. This has happened, many times in the known history. We call them global catastrophes, right? The
Hmm.
flood, all this kind of stuff. So I do believe nature herself, this planet is alive, is a living consciousness, and we are interconnected with the planet and everything in nature, right? So there's going to be, you can look at it as an immune response, meaning humanity, we are the stewards of this planet. If we are in opposition to nature, there will be a immune response, and nature will shake us off like fleas.
I totally agree. I say that all the time. Will, you've made so many great points, and thank you. I'm glad I got to ask you that because you made great points there, and I agree with you. I People seem to think that what we're talking about is taking out government in just one mass swoop. That there's no government, and I keep trying to tell people this is a generation. This is going to take time. It's going to take effort from everybody, and it's a generational learning. That's why I think it's really important to get to the young children as well and start teaching them this because the older generation, a lot of them are open to it, but a lot of them are really stuck in their ways, and they're going to be a little bit harder stone to break. But I think if we can get to the younger minds and they're way more open to what we're talking about and willing to work with it, I think that's a great thing. But I definitely know that I've talked to people and they think that that's what we mean is that we're just going to pull government out in a day. And I'm just like, in
Yeah.
reality, that'll never happen. It just life doesn't work that way. So
It,
it's a
yep.
process, and I agree with what you're saying, and you make sense on the borders. I think they keep us. That's another thing that they just keep us arguing about. This endless
Exactly.
debating and arguing back and forth, and that's what they want.
Well, a lot of the violence and the actual real chaos is the reason we have this is due to government codes and
Hmm.
regulations, right? The reason there's a huge problem at the border is because there are actually people there restricting other human beings and violating other human beings. Right. I mean, so it's same thing as with parenting. If you control and restrict your teenage child, guess what? That teenage child is going to lie to you,
Hmm.
is going to rebel, is going to rage against the dying of the light,
Yep.
so to say, right? Because it's being restricted, it's being violated. So we can look at the black market as well, and with all types of drugs and all this type of stuff, where government is trying to regulate and control other people's decision making of their own body, right? And this creates a situation where that is actually violent.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff is manufactured due to the belief in human authority. So
Makes sense.
we need to get down, right? We need to think about, like, there is no collective. Collective and aggregate is a descriptive word of individuals. So when we use this term, it comes down to what are you doing? Because the individuals comprise the aggregate. So this is an individual process that we each must go through. And what we're talking about is getting down to principles. First things first. What is the principles that we must live by? What are the principles of reality? And this is where the cause is, the root of the problem.
I totally agree. Well said. And because we're talking about rights, I think this blends perfectly into my next point that I want to get into with Will. And this is one I've had great debates with, and it's going to sound funny, but I'm hoping people are going to take the ride with us and kind of understand where I'm going with this, and maybe you can break it down. But we're talking about rights, which most people would agree, and we know is an action that does not cause harm to another sentient being. Now, my question has always been, and the discussions I've had, Will, is do people have the right to harm themselves if they're going by the natural law principle and by your rights?
Yeah, great question. So as human beings, we have the benefit of using logic and reason, and we have care, we have the heart space, the first eye, you have the third eye, you have two to look, one to see, one to feel. So we use this trinity to evolve, right? To figure this out. So we need to understand morality and ethics. And we also need to understand that this is, it's ultimately a gradient. We have morality, which is objective. These are the principles by which you cannot violate across the board. It's objective, meaning it applies to all human beings. This is the foundation, right? The foundation of this concept in objective morality, right? Do not initiate or aggress upon other beings.
Right.
Objective. But as we move up into, the topics, it starts to get into a gradient of ethics, right? Ethics is, if morality is what you can't do, ethics is what you shouldn't do, right?
Right.
So we must understand ownership. Ownership means you control the usage, you are in possession of it, and you facilitate its decisions. So, do I own myself? Well, I possess this body. No one else is coming in and, I'm not swapping bodies with other people, right? The body is a vessel, right? So I have ownership of this body. I possess it. I control its usage. I make the decisions to wave my arm up and down, to have an interview with Rick. So I am in ownership of this body. So I am responsible for it. So the actions that I perform, I am absolutely responsible and accountable for that. Now, do I have the right to harm myself? Absolutely, I do. Should I do that? No. It would not be ethical for me to harm myself. But does the right remain? Yes, it does. Right? We have the free will choice to harm ourselves. But it is not wise and it's not ethical. And there will be repercussions. Cause and effect. Natural law is always in play. Nothing is above the law. Meaning if I decide to eat crappy, right, there's going to be an effect of that.
Absolutely.
But I'm making that choice. Now, we need to understand that, if I'm going to not be wise, be ignorant, or be careless on my choices and my actions and my behaviors, then yes, the effect might affect another human being. If I drink alcohol and get into a car and drive, that's my choice, my free will choice. If I hit someone and kill another person, I am responsible for that. So we need to understand that we exist in this reality field. We are going to interact with the world. We are accountable and responsible for our actions.
It makes total sense. I totally understand what you're saying. But yeah, it's just I think maybe somebody might think that was a kind of a weird question, but it's honestly a topic, Will, that I talk a lot about, because I just have people saying like, okay, so I'm with you on the rights and that, but now how does that kind of translate to one's own body? And I think you break that down really well. And it's really weird because me being a tattoo artist, I'm sitting there thinking like, am I causing harm to somebody? Because I am technically harming them when I'm tattooing them. I'm working on with a needle on them, and I know it sounds crazy, but I think about this so much. Like, am I actually doing a harm? But I just think it comes down to like I'm technically not, because they're like they're kind of willing to go under the needle, so to say.
Well, you are using force, right? You're using energy, and you by that action you're inflicting pain.
Right.
But it is not violence. Violence is derived from violation. Violation of what? Violation of a natural right.
Right.
So you can look at cage fighting, UFC, right? Is this a violent sport? No, it is not, because they are both people are consenting. Now, is it a forceful and a painful sport? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Same with boxing and football. But the key to understand is consent. See, this is what government does. Government says, oh, because you human beings are so stupid and ignorant, we dictate what you can do to your body.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not have ownership of your body. We say what you can do and cannot do with your body, right?
That's exactly
So
right.
that so when someone says, do you have a right to harm yourself? Absolutely you do. This is the whole premise of government. Government says that, you can't. And in fact, in some cases, if you choose the unwise decision of killing yourself, suicide, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you attempt that and you do not succeed, government can press charges upon you.
I've heard that,
I've
right?
known someone that actually went to psychiatric ward and then did jail time. Can you imagine that? What I just said? That's government saying you tried to damage our property, so now we're going to punish you.
Wow.
It's incredible. I
It
mean, just
is.
think about it. We have social security numbers, right? These are just dog tags, ear tags, like cattle on a farm, right?
It's so true.
Barcodes.
So we're like,
So
they look at us just as property. The
they look
government,
at
that
us as their
property.
property.
Wow.
So
So true. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad I kind of brought that up because if people knew the amount of time I spent thinking about just, like I said, tattooing, and if I'm really doing something wrong by doing, and I know people are going, that's crazy to think that much about it, but I really do think about it, and I'm glad you kind of cleared that up because it makes total sense. There's a big difference between consenting and then doing violence to somebody. That's
absolutely.
huge.
Yeah, there's no violation there. Someone comes into your tattoo shop
Hmm.
and they consent. They say do this, and absolutely, right? And now as human beings, right, with logic and reason and discernment, if someone says, oh, I want a huge penis right across my forehead down my cheek. Now, you as
Right.
a professional,
Hmm.
and this is where ethics get involved. You might have a conversation with, like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, this is permanent. And
Not a
you
good
might
idea.
evaluate
Right.
their psychological capacity. They might not be all there. They might have some issues. So by you discerning this potential contract, this agreement, then you might decline that offer. You might say,
Exactly.
no, I'm not going to do that.
I have
I'm
done that. I've said no to many things. Tattooing, I'm just like, I won't do it. I'm like, go somewhere else. And then they'll be, oh, well, this guy said down the road he'd do it. I'm like, then go to him. Because I won't.
exactly.
I just won't do certain things. So, yeah, that's great. Well, and great points you're making. I'm really enjoying this. I learned so much from you. And I want to, now that, because we're talking about people's rights and their bodies, this is a topic that I know has been sensitive for a lot of people, but I want to get into it. And that is abortion, because this is a topic that a lot of people I hear going back and forth on, and I think we have to have this conversation. Does a
Yeah.
woman at any point, because it's her body, have the right to do an abortion? I just want your thoughts on that.
Well, what is abortion? This is a hot button topic.
Yes.
This is, an important topic, and I'm willing to discuss this
Me
because it
too.
is important. So what is abortion? Well, you are aborting a baby. You are aborting a fetus. You are aborting a human being. Doesn't matter what stage it is.
So
You
you say any stage, any.
any stage does
Okay.
not matter any stage, because before conception you are one being,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then after conception, now you have a second being that's in the process of growing inside you.
Right.
So it's no longer just your body. Now, we talked about natural rights. What is a right? A right is any action that does not cause harm to another being. So when we see these signs and these people saying abortion is a human right, is it? It is a right to abort, to kill another being, a growing being inside you?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, it is not a right whatsoever. Now, people get emotional.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm sure there might be listeners right now just furious by what I just said. Now, we need to understand we live in a reality. This is like a university, right? A university where we are here to grow and learn lessons. There's no guaranteed safety. We're not here in a bubble where everything's going to be perfect. It does not exist. So when people bring up topics like, well, what about if a woman was raped? Horrible, horrible, right? It's an abomination.
Mm-hmm.
Rape is.
Yep.
So it's one of the most violating transgressions one can take upon. But bad things are going to happen. And ultimately, the woman can still make that choice. She does not have the right to do that, but she still can exercise her free will choice to do that. There will be repercussions with that. And I'm saying this from a very personal experience because I myself, with my daughter's mother now, before my daughter, we did have an abortion. This was many years ago before I had awareness. And let me tell you something. It had profound negative effects on myself, my spirit, my soul, my psychological and my emotional stability. It had even more detrimental effects on her going through that process. Now, that's because she's very in tuned with, empathy with herself and with nature. And it was a regretful decision that we did, right? We were young. And just like many people that go and get abortions, oh, they're just not ready for it. Right. Well, guess what? You are a child, right? We need to be adults. We are going to make decisions, and then we have to live with those consequences.
Very true. So
that was a huge staple learning experience for me and for her. And we need to understand that abortion has been manufactured, meaning the concept of abortion, Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. This is all from the social engineers. Even birth control as well has detrimental consequences on the body as well. Yes. Yep. So what does that mean, right? Oh, well, especially the young people, right? Well, we got to have sex, we got to fulfill those base desires, the lower consciousness beast within us. Well, hey, there's going to be consequences for that. So we need to understand a lot of things. We need to understand rights. We need to understand where abortion comes from and why it's been manufactured and pushed upon culture and pushed upon women. And we need to understand the sexual union, that this is a divine process. This is not something, a feel-good fix, a dopamine rush that we just need to interact with. We need to understand that this is a sacred union, and it is there for unifying masculine and feminine, male and woman, to create the vessel of a soul, or for another being. I mean, this is the one of the most sacred processes that we have in this reality. Yeah. So there's a lot of ignorance around this whole topic.
And to me, they've cheapened relationships. They've made it that base desire just by the way they steer. I think of like the dating apps, and I know people that are single, and they are part of the whole dating app thing, and it's just so weak. I don't know the word for it. It's just so hollow, I guess, and soulless. Yes. You're just meeting people, and then usually you meet them and hook up with them right away. That seems to be the way they go. And then I see the way that they're just portraying sex. Even when I do catch the odd TV show, and I see how rampant porn is now. Like I would do some research, guys, on like the addiction rate for porn. It staggered me when I saw it, and I'm just thinking like they are really. They're taking that away. They're making it something, they're twisting it like they always do.
Yes, exactly.
That connection between man and woman and having a child, and then as we're saying with this whole abortion thing, and then you got into a good point with birth control. And I think, and then, God, there was a great point I was going to make. It'll come back to me, but.
Let me say something real quick about what you were saying.
Yeah.
We need to understand that, like, this topic of abortion and birth control and all this stuff, it's derived, again, it's a lack of knowledge from principles. So we need to understand that In a free society, or in a society that has higher awareness of principles, meaning self-ownership, that we are responsible for ourselves and our actions, non-aggression,
Hmm.
meaning you owe everything one thing, do not initiate harm, and the third, which is self-defense, meaning you yourself have the right to defend yourself, and you have the obligation and responsibility to defend yourself by all means. When this awareness of first principles increases in the world, in society, we are going to see a drop in rape, in assault, in murder,
Hmm.
because the more people understand self-defense, right, then it's when we look at some of these American states like Texas, where the right to bear arms is a natural right, where the majority of people are walking around with guns. Well, guess
Yeah.
what? This is why this state has the lowest crime and the lowest gun violations in America, right? Because everyone's packing heat.
Yep.
Everyone understands self-defense. So same thing with rape and murder and sexual assault and all this kind of stuff. So again, it comes down to self-knowledge, understanding principles, and understanding oneself and truth, and how the natural world truly operates.
Very good points. Yeah, and you're right too about people that can bear arms. And you make, and the point I was going to make, well, too, I'm glad it just sparked on me is that we were talking about like the whole abortion, birth control, and I always wonder, even going back say 200 or 300 years, just say like what they would think about that now. Like if they knew back then, like they're going to be doing what? They're just gonna it's going to be go to a clinic and get this done, and there's no. I just think about that, like what they would think. Like
Yeah.
it's like wow, and
Yeah, we have to understand this is speeding up, and another
absolutely,
a
yep.
good topic I'll touch on, because you mentioned, porn,
Mm-hmm.
and, speed dating and all this kind of stuff, is the war on testosterone for men. Since 1970 to now, testosterone has dropped 2.6% each
That's
year.
huge.
Each year. And there's some really good studies, just take it as available information. There's some really good studies out there that really dive deep into this. So testosterone is vital for men and women, right? Of course, men have more testosterone,
Hmm.
right? And testosterone is what makes a man, right? I mean, it sparks the body in utero to develop the penis and the testicles,
Hmm.
right? So this is willpower. So we see with, the society that we're living in, with all the chemicals and the plastics and porn and all this kind of stuff, it's lowering testosterone in a lot of men to zero. Now, that doesn't mean that it's gone forever. You can rebuild it, and that is a process. But when you have lack of testosterone in a male, what do you have? You have a feminized man.
Right. Absolutely. And that was good. That's great that you said that because I was going to say that and kind of ask you like what their agenda is to lowering the testosterone, but you kind of answered it. They don't want strong men. They want to weaken the whole male spirit.
Absolutely, and this is why sperm count is at an incredible low amount, and even women too, right? With the chemicals, the plastics, EMFs, birth control, right? This is messing up the hormonal stability, and making a lot of women infertile. Right, so we
Wow.
have low sperm count and infertile eggs in women. So what does that mean? It means nowadays in the modern world, people are having a hard time getting pregnant. So this gets into a whole depopulation agenda. That's self-induced, that we are doing to ourselves through lack of awareness.
Wow. It's really when you break it down like that, it's like we really got some work to do and some hurdles because like I always say that there's not a simple answer because they're coming at it from so many different angles. Like they're really getting us on so many. They've covered their bases, that's for sure. And I think about like what you're saying, like they just we really need to step up our game I mean, I just
Yeah.
see where we're going, and I talk to people. I try to get out and talk to people, Will, as much as I can in person, because I do think you can gauge at things better, and then you can get. And I just so people around the neighborhood now, through discussions over time, you kind of get a feel for where they're at, and I just don't see people talking about these things, at least not around me. I mean, like the people I just run into, and we kind of get a discussion going. They're really part of the system, and it's a tough one.
Yeah, a lot of people are not going to get it in this lifetime, right?
Wow.
And that is unfortunate. But this is what we're here to do. We're here to inspire people
Hmm.
to spark that change within their own lives. And we can talk about, and you're right, Rick, right? Our whole system, humans, right, are living in opposition to nature, meaning every facet of society is inverted. It
Hmm.
goes against nature and what actually should be happening. So we got the upside down world. It's topsy turvy. So this can be extremely depressing and hard for a lot of people to take in all this information on all these topics, geoengineering, the war on testosterone, all this kind of stuff, right? But one thing that I tell people to do is like, it's good to have an awareness, but at some point, you have to act. And where the best place to start is within yourself, right? So start what you can control within your own life, your diet, what your awareness on what you consume and put into your body, your belief systems. What are your belief systems and why? And you're paying attention to your emotions, the energy and motion that you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. Journal these down even, right? So bring in that focus from the infinite realm of information that's always coming at us, doesn't
Hmm.
matter if it's alternative or mainstream, right? And bringing it down to definition, to the finite, to higher clarity, to a single point, and that is with yourself, your psyche, your emotions, your body, your actions, and start there. A great place to start is diet, what you're putting into your body,
Hmm.
because if the vessel, right, the receiver, our body, is in an imbalanced state, that's going to affect our capacity to reason and logic and discern. So
I
it's a
agree.
really good place to start. Principles, right?
Yeah.
Air, water, food. What are you putting into your body? Start there.
Hmm.
Sun, grounding, touching the earth, the dirt. Start with those principles and then work your way up.
That's a great point, and I've always told people too. You have to be very willing and open to tearing down your belief systems too that you've clung on to, because I think a lot of people get an I like they think they grasp onto something so tightly, and then they just start fighting for it because they're so involved in it. And I'm always willing to tear anything down if it better information comes along, or it's a false belief, or any. I really doing that through shadow work. I've learned that I have a question like, where do I even get some of these beliefs? Like, why do I believe what I do? Where did this come from? And a lot of it is been stuck there somehow. Like it's like a Trojan
Absolutely.
horse that they put in there.
Great point. Yeah, great analogy. It's like a Trojan horse. Most of our belief systems have been given to us in the formative stages of our childhood,
Hmm.
or, we've picked up along the way, most of the time from culture,
Yep.
right? So, absolutely, we need to ask ourselves these questions for sure. Why do I hold the beliefs that I do? And it's very reactive for people. And, we need to pay attention to those triggers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great points. And so, yeah, moving along, like this is so important, these topics that we're covering, Will. So I thank you once again, because I really do appreciate you coming on and covering these and having this discussion. I'll keep saying it; it needs to happen. And another, because we've covered abortion, and we really got you could put some great information out there. I hope to get makes people really think about it. And another one that's big right now, it's happening in people in my life, is the whole transgender movement. And we're hearing a lot about children younger and younger and younger wanting to transition. You hear parents that are pushing for this and encouraging their young children. And I know this is going to be a big topic, and it's not a simple topic. It's a hard topic to have, or a hard discussion, I should say, to have. But I want to have it with you because, as I was saying, I was telling you a little bit off air that I have friends that this is affecting a couple friends that this is affecting their family, and they have a young child, and it's affecting them, and it's actually it's really disturbing to see. And I just want to get your thoughts on this, because, or where we can start to have this discussion. I just want to get your thoughts on this whole, because it's a big thing going on right now with this whole trans topic and people talking about it. A lot of people are uncomfortable talking about it. They don't even want to have the discussion. I do, because I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, huge topic and very relevant nowadays. And it is it's a disgusting, horrible psyop. This is a psychological operation that's moving full steam ahead, right? So let me start with some caveats. Your sexual preference, meaning if you're gay, bisexual, lesbian, that doesn't matter to me, right? That is your choice. Now, of course, when you get into age, meaning that you're attracted to a child, that's a huge problem. I mean, this is getting into mental illness and disassociated from reality, from truth, from nature. So sexual preference is one thing. Do what you like. That's your choice. But then when you get into thinking that you were born in the wrong body, or you want to mutilate yourself, have a sex change, right? This is also mental illness. Now, this is hard for a lot of people to understand, but you're again disassociated from truth, from reality, right? A man is a man, a woman is a woman. And honestly, without going off the rails, it's extremely disrespectful and offensive for a man to think he could throw the costume on and call it a woman, right? Women are divine creatures, men are divine beings as well. We are complementary to each other. We must be honest with ourselves, right? I was born a man, so this is who I am. Now, with that being said, that's objective in the natural world. Right. We understand this. There are only two genders. This is how you create a child, a man and a woman, period. Right? Well, until they start growing children in labs. And even then, you still need the male and the woman.
Male and the female, yep.
Hopefully we don't go down that route. But so we need to understand kind of why this is happening. And this is a great segue into what we were just talking about with testosterone. And I'll say this for someone, and people can do their research because there's studies out there as well. So first of all, the condition that a man is in and the condition that a woman is in, meaning physically and spiritually, right? When they conceive has an impact on the vessel that is going to be created. Now, during utero, right, when the woman is pregnant and the child is growing inside, that is a crucial time for whatever the woman is being affected by, putting into her body, surrounded by, etc. This is going to affect the child. Now, check this out, Rick, and their studies. I'll send you the links, and you can put the studies in the description, right? So because of phthalates is plastic. This is the byproduct of petroleum, of oil, right? So when someone gets and phthalates, it's an important component to plastic. It pretty much is what makes plastic, either hard or soft. And that varies in degrees, if it's a soft water bottle or if it's a hard piece of plastic. And, people think that they're doing the healthy choice by grabbing something that says BPA free, but all that the BPA is taken out and it's replaced with a more harmful molecule, which is BPS and BPF, which are the harmful cousins of BPA, right? But you need these phthalates in the plastic. That's what makes it plastic. Now, think about it. Plastic is everywhere.
Oh, my God, yes. Everywhere.
Right? So, I mean, and water bottles, right? The plastic leaches into the water, our food, everything. Now, There's studies showing and proving that when a woman is in utero, where the fetus is growing, and she takes in a high content of phthalates, right? The phthalates is a endocrine system disruptor. So it blocks, it binds to the endocrine system when the fetus is growing. And what does the endocrine system do? It actually starts producing testosterone, or even estrogen, right? So this dictates if the fetus is going to grow a penis or a vagina. So this blocks those receptors. And we know that when testosterone is low, a man becomes feminine, and even a woman can be, have instability in emotions as well, right? So it blocks, estrogen, and there's an imbalance of testosterone. Now, they have proven this in these studies because, and this is going to be wild, but I highly recommend people look into this information, that they can measure the distance between the anus and the genitals. And in women, it's a lot smaller, and in men, it's a lot bigger. So what they found, that when these babies are born, and the babies that have a small, the area is smaller, they are more feminine, right? So my point is that there's a chemical component to this war of chemicals that is being bombarded to us, where, when women are in utero and the baby is growing and they're just taking all these harmful substances into their body, it's having an effect on the fetus itself. So there is an imbalance in the fetus as it's growing. The penis will be smaller as well. Even in grown men, if your testosterone drops, your testicles and your penis shrink as well. So this is really important. But here's the kicker. In grown men, if your testosterone drops to 0, you can raise it into normal levels in about around 4 months, right? With willpower and care. With a child in utero, it's fixed, meaning during that developmental stage, if the harm has been done, there's no reversing it, right? To our knowledge and what these studies are saying. So this is an important chemical imbalance that has a physical effect on the vessel, right? And the imbalance of the growing human being. So when we look at the transgender movement that is being pushed and promoted and propagated all upon culture, right? And you see these little children. Now think about this. Even young boys, they are slightly feminine because the testosterone hasn't started pumping in production until they get to puberty. Now they have testosterone is in there. This is what is responsible for creating, the penis and the testicles. But when parents see a young boy playing with dolls or something, or acting a little more feminine, there's a couple components, right? There could be that chemical component or the physiological component of just how they developed in utero, but also understand that they haven't reached puberty yet. So the testosterone isn't there that really makes them more masculine. And the psyop is that just because your child, might be acting feminine, they can choose if they are a boy or a girl, or they are definitely a female in a boy body, right? I mean, this is crazy, right? This is a disassociation from reality, and parents, excuse me, should be ashamed of themselves, knowing that their young children do not have the capacity for logic and reason and discernment, and the parents are taking advantage of their children by saying, "Oh, little Johnny, little Melissa, are you a boy or are you a girl?" This is mind control. This is manipulation, and it's a complete violation of rights as well. The right to grow into development and to evolve, and for development. as parents, we do not own our children. We are stewardships. So
That's a
we are
tough one for parents.
facilitators for these children,
Yeah.
and we need to understand that we are responsible for them, and we are there to aid them through their developmental process until they are sustainable, right?
Yep.
Until they have the capacity
That's a tough one, Will,
to
for parents
reason.
to hear, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
own your kids. Like you're a steward of them. I remember, God, like I just remember hearing that so long ago, and I don't think people think of it that way. Because I remember, I definitely think my parents, when they were raising me, they thought they owned me. Like that was just their mindset, I think. But I think that's a
Yeah.
tough one for parents to hear, because it's really that changes the game when you say it that way, the way that you did. It puts more responsibility even on the parents, I think, because you're the steward of them learning and growing, and that's huge. That's such a big undertaking.
It is, yeah, and the psychological operation of promoting this and normalizing this is it's incredible. It's full steam, right? Because hey, if you haven't if you haven't been down this rabbit hole, right? Children are the most valuable resource
Hmm.
to life on this planet, to the human species. And it's also the most valuable resource to the social engineers. The social engineers feed off this energy of the innocence, the child. They're closer to source, pure, right? So the succubi energy of feeding the loosh, which is the life force energy off these children. So putting the transgender ideology into young schools is just programming and conditioning, right? And I'll say this, normal adults do not get angry that they can't talk to their children about sex, right? Predators and perverts do. So you see all these people up in arms that, oh, the LGBTQT movement and all these other transgender movements and the ideologies of this psychological operation getting upset that they can't have drag queen story time in pre or elementary schools and middle schools and this kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
They get
Yep.
upset about that. Why? Why are you so upset? Why do you need to talk about sex and all this false information to children? And parents are just eating this up. So parents are under mind control, and this is another reason why aware parents, conscious parenting is needed. And it's not about changing the system. It's about detaching from the system, meaning that you have the responsibility to say, no, I'm not going to expose my child to that. Pull your kids out of school. Stop going down to the school board meetings and saying, I want you to change it. Do it this way. Do it this way. It's not going to change. This is by design. The system is operating exactly as it should be.
Right. I
Right. So
agree.
we need to have that courage and willpower to remove our children from these systems.
I totally agree. That's what I say to people too. You have to be willing to say no and then take action and pull them out of the system. If that's you make a great point. Well, I've said it so many times on my show that the system is working perfect. They're not going to change it. This is the results they want. So what they're not going to change it. You can go up in arms all you want. It's not going to make a difference. You have to actually take action, like you said, and pull your children out of school. And as I was saying, like I just this transgender one is a big one. I really only because it's affecting people around me, and I know that there's an agenda going on because it's definitely they're targeting the young children. They just are, and that's where I have the problem. I was saying to you off air that listen, if you're a grown adult and you're living your life and you're fully mature and you want to be transgender, you want to be gay, like you were saying, do what you want. I mean, that's your right to do that. I have no problem with that. I am not transphobic. Please don't label me that way, or that is not what I am at all. I have a problem when they start gearing it towards the kids who are innocent, and their minds are so fertile then, and so I've
Hmm.
seen it happen in people around as I was saying earlier, around me. This is happening with their children. Now I have a couple of friends that their sons are coming home and they want to now dress like women. They think they want to go on hormones, and then now they have friends that are transgender in the schooling system, and the parents were telling me that this wasn't a problem until they started getting into the school system and then around other people. And so there's some type of programming definitely going on that we
Yes.
have to talk about. And I like the way that you kind of brought up too. Well, I know I'm kind of hitting you with a lot here, but you were bringing up the chemicals with the fetuses and with these plastics and that. And that was kind of cool because I was going to ask you about that. I've been doing a little bit of research, and people are studying. If you look at the scientific papers, and they're saying that there is certain things going on in the brain that are making people feel like they're in the wrong body. And so you kind of address that in a way. I think you've touched on it with these chemicals, because that's kind of an argument that people are saying. And so that's the research has kind of led to me, is that there is people saying that it's not just there's something, definitely something chemically that makes people feel they're in the wrong bodies or the wrong gender. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a factor. It's not the sole factor, right? But we need to understand, it always starts in the mind.
Right.
But again, if you inhibit or you modify the vessel, that's going to have an effect on the receiver of information, the brain for the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely plays an impact, and it's not just plastics that have this effect. It is pesticides, herbicides, it's all the phthalates that they put in scented candles. You have the air wick,
Mm-hmm.
the Airwick freshener, scent freshener that people plug into the wall, right? Most of these candles are just toxic fumes that are being put into the air. So it's a combination of things. And
Definitely.
we need to understand that this is also a eugenics operation, that they're trying to condition and program the mind, because the mind is sets the tempo for everything. So culture operates right through the public school system,
Yeah,
right? This is
absolutely.
where, like you were saying, your friends, their kids come home from school and now they have all these ideologies and they want to do all these things.
Yep.
That's because they're spending 7 hours a day, 5 days a week in public school, where public school is just promoting the social engineers agendas. And again, it can differ in different, locations as well, but we have to understand these dialectics are there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got the woke, you got the left side, right? The neoliberalism going off, but this also sparks the far ideology of the right, the Republicans and all this kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
they're both fueling each other, and they're both wanting more government control. Their solution is government. And in reality, we need to get down to the fundamental understanding that the belief in human authority is illegitimate and invalid.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a definitely a touchy subject, and I'm glad we're having this discussion. And just to make a point, what was kind of interesting, Will, is I was listening to a story, and somebody was parents were talking about their child that was in the school system, came home, and similar to the story I was telling you about my friends, their son thought he might be a woman, and he thinks that that's where he might be headed, and he thinks so he wanted to get hormones and transition. The parents, from what they said, pulled the child out of school. They moved to a different location. They kind of went out to the outskirts of the city. They went kind of like country living. And from what the story they're saying is that within like 3 or 4 weeks, the child was right back to normal, being a boy. They had no idea that that was kind of like it never happened. They weren't talking about being a female again. So it was kind of
Yeah.
interesting to me that you pull them out of that environment and things kind of go back to the way they should, if that makes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Why? Why does the transgender, the gender fluidity, what this movement, why does it focus on elementary school
That's yes.
range? That's because these children are in the formative stage, the formatting stage, meaning they are a sponge.
Hmm.
This is laying the foundation for your operating system on how the being's going to think, their belief systems, all of this stuff. This is why they're targeting these young children. So
It makes sense.
it runs deep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a parent as well, right? So
Hmm.
we homeschool. Well, actually, we unschool. I call it unschool. It's self-directed learning. But any parent, do not put your kid in school from any age up to 10 years old. The formative years is 0 through 7 to 8, all the way up to 10. And then if you want to maybe do some type of charter school or, group organizing, schooling or something like that, then maybe that's an option. Ultimately, self-directed learning is definitely the way to go, and people can do their research and watch my videos on that as well.
Right.
So yeah, no, it's a powerful topic that needs to be discussed. And ultimately it comes down to the parents, right? What are you going to do as a parent? Right.
No,
So
that makes total sense. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Because, and that's what I try to, like, we've done it. I've done interviews with you where we talk about this, that parents need to get more involved in their child's lives. And I see it even with friends that have children. They really don't have a lot of time with their kids. And it's designed that way. I absolutely agree. They've engineered it like this, because you see parents now, like, both usually are having to work. They're both out of the house. So they're sending their children to daycare. They have a babysitter. They're both working. So you maybe have an hour or two in the morning if you're lucky, and then maybe an hour or two at night. And then the rest of the time they're being raised by somebody else. And
they're being raised by government, the state, and culture. They're being raised by the social engineers, programmed and conditioned to be slaves, right? And it's generational mind control, and it is brutal. And real quick, before I forget, you could put this in the description. When I was talking about the studies on the phthalates in utero and have the effects so the study that it was ran by Dr. Shauna H. Swan.
Okay.
She's got some really good videos, and you can check out all the studies on that as well. Now, it's great for gathering the information. Look at the studies, but she just doesn't have that awareness that this is being orchestrated and manufactured. So she's coming more of it as a mainstream for awareness for humanity. I mean, we can see that this is part of the depopulation agenda. Because if you have men and women that think they're in the wrong body, right, then they're most likely not going to have kids, or they'll adopt kids. Which is being promoted as well.
Absolutely.
And that just makes the ideology be propagated down with the programming. So
wow,
very important topics.
It is, and I'm glad we're having this discussion. It's so important because it's affecting in so many areas. And it's an uncomfortable one too, because you start looking into studies, Will, like, I've been really trying to stay in the middle on this. I don't want to fall prey to something, like fall prey to grabbing onto something and saying this is my belief. And so I want to stay in the middle. You hear people say, like, this is kind of leading back to where I was saying that they're kind of looking at it chemically in the brain. Like, so this was the whole argument, was, are people born gay, or are they born transgender? Is this something that is, happens in nature, or is it something that is happening after the fact? And that's kind of like, so somebody was making the argument that this does, it's not just a social thing, or it's not something that people just learn. It's something that could be happening in the brain. And that's kind of where the studies are that I'm looking at, that they're kind of trying to prove that. So I want to see both sides of this. I think that's where, the best way to approach it.
Absolutely. Yeah. These topics were, practically unheard of, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
it's so we see where this is going. It's going, and it's picking up speed into the transhumanistic agenda ultimately, right? I mean, really, there's one agenda for the social engineers, and that's to control human beings in the totality, 100%.
Yep.
So they invert nature, or they propagate the illusion, right? Because you cannot actually invert nature. Nature is perfect order. But human beings, what they have come to, what they believe is inverted to how things truly operate in the natural world.
Absolutely.
So it's the agenda against nature.
It totally is, and people are so disconnected from nature these days. It's crazy, and I try to tell people, at least get out in nature somehow. Like, I mean, just get out there and start connecting, and it will change your life. It really did for me. I was living in a city for many, like 20 years. I lived at 25 years, actually. I lived in an apartment building, and I was just part in the city. And then when I got away from the city and started actually getting out in nature and being around nature, it changes you. And I try to tell people the power of that, of connecting, and they keep trying to sever that connection. And you're so right with the transhumanism movement. They want us that connection broken, and they're doing a great job, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, unfortunately they are,
It's
right?
a
And
tough one.
this is the stress on children, because children are pure potential, right?
Hmm.
So if you can control that, right, then you are advancing your will. And this is what the social engineers do. And but this is what the social engineers, what they propagate. Ultimately, it's the individual. So it's not some external force putting your kids in public school. You are putting your kids in public school. So that's where the mind control comes in. This is why I like social engineering, because they engineer the social dynamic, the topics, this kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
And at least refer in context to culture. But ultimately, the individual takes the action.
That's
So
the trick.
that exactly, that's where the problem lies. It
Right.
lies within the individual and their awareness and what they are actually performing in the world.
That's so powerful. You're right. That's kind of the illusion they pull, is that you're the one doing the action, and they're engineering it, and that leads to, because that was one of my bullet points too, is that I think I talk to people a lot about the social engineers and their agenda, and we've covered a lot of it, because and the way that they keep us divided. I think we should talk about that, Will, because that is their total goal. I see is they've always got people divided and fighting amongst each other on, you pick the topic, you're going to have people fighting about it. And I think of how they orchestrate all of these things. I see the Black Lives Matter, you see the transgender thing going on now, you got politics. It's just they've always got people in the state of divide. And I just want to get your thoughts on what you think their agenda is, and why do they keep us in the state of divide? What is the power in doing this?
Absolutely. It's perception management for behavior control. If there are all these dialectics going on, they're trying to captivate. It's entrainment. Like you have entertainment, this is entrainment, meaning you are entrapping the mind, your awareness, what you're focusing on. Because as you know, Rick, what you focus on, where energy goes or where attention goes, energy flows.
Yep.
So if they can control the availability of information, perception, then they are likely to get the behaviors that they want by the individuals. So it's perception management for behavior control. And we're seeing this nowadays with, the internet and the with AI, really hitting the scene really hard, and just the age of information. It's ramping up.
For
And
sure.
even in the alternative, freedom, truth community, there's all this information, and it can be overwhelming for times. At some times, for
Hmm.
people to take in all this information on all these different dialectics, and this is one of the core messages that I like to say in an interview is you need to get down to the root of the problem, because talking about the dialectics and what has already manifested in this reality is a done deal. It already happened. Right? It has
Great point.
already manifested. We need to be present in the here and now and have our eyes set on the future. And we do this, we create change, right, by getting down to the root of the problem, the causal realm, which is always in mind. What we think, what we believe, what we know. And this is really important. This is why principles are the foundation, like I've said already.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
so it's really important to understand that there's only two ways to create change in reality, and that's through philosophy and technology. Philosophy is the internal dialect. Like you and we are having philosophy right now. It's asking the big questions. It
Yep.
always starts within oneself,
Hmm.
right? The meaning of life. Why do I do the things that I do? So it always starts with the individual. This is philosophy. And then we can have these conversations and come to a conclusion. And then we can use technology, which is the external force, to create a solution. Whether it is, computers, where we can have an interview from different locations, whether it's a fork, it's a hammer, it's a gun. These are tools. We use technology to create tools. So to create change, we need to have the philosophical understanding of first principles, natural law, truth and freedom, and natural rights. We need to go through that process internally. And then we need to use technology to use our voice and to spread this message of true freedom and how to achieve that. And we do that through the external means of technology. And we use our voice. So this is how we're going to create change in reality. That, and like I said, right? It's not about, Will and Rick are doing it. They're doing a great job. Let them do it. No, it's as many people as possible. We need numbers. We need numbers of people getting on the battlefield in their own creative way. Some people might not like to do podcasts or videos, so they'll write a book, they'll do a Substack,
art,
or whatever.
So many different ways. There's so many different ways. And I always say everybody has a unique talent, and you can find a way to do the message with your talent. I mean, not like you said, not everybody wants to do a podcast or a radio show or presentations, but there is something that you're good at and that you're passionate about that you can use in your own unique way. And I think that's such an important thing to say.
Such a beautiful thing about human beings, right?
We
really are equal in rights, in natural rights, but we are extremely diverse in attributes and characteristics. And this is consciousness, right? Like bringing it back to the very beginning of freedom. Evolving, moving forward, expanding, becoming more complex and unique. This is a beautiful thing. So everyone has some type of attribute or talent, or has the capacity to learn.
That's the key, right?
So
yeah, exactly. And because I talked to so many people, Will, like we were talking about, because I really talk a lot about the slavery aspect, like we covered at the beginning, and government. And it's really, really hard for people, and I'm sure you run into it all the time, because I know you're busy. You talk to a lot of people that cannot even picture a world that is not run like by a government. And I'm always trying to find solutions. And you kind of touched on it at the beginning that okay, let's not call it government. There's always going to be a structure in a society. You're going to have people that are handing out the chores, I guess. I'm trying to think of the best words to use, but society seems to form into these structures, if you know what I mean. But they can't picture that without a government ruling over them.
Exactly. Like I mentioned earlier, right? Just think about your daily life, your daily interactions.
Great way to look at it.
For the most people, it's majority, the whole day is based upon voluntary interaction. There's just this external control force that will violate you, upon its will. So, I mean, we have the example of cooperation and voluntary interaction in our day-to-day lives. So it's not the visceral reaction of, oh my gosh, well, if there's not government, then humanity is going to plunge into chaos and we're all going to die. Like that's a fear-based response. And this is something that, one needs to really dive deep within themselves and work through that. There are two forms of government. There is the external government that we know, right? Externally, a group of people calling themselves government, that have the claim of ownership upon everyone else. But there's also internal government, because the word government means mind control, gubernare mens. So to control the mind. Now, the internal government, what is that? If you control your mind, that's self-governance. That's responsibility. That's accountability. That's ownership. So, this is the solution is self-governance. That's what we need.
It always every conversation that I get into, Will, it always seems it comes right back around to the person. Like the work on yourself. It really is that important, and I beat it like I beat it like a drum, I guess, because it's constant. But it just seems that all the conversations I've had with so many amazing people, including yourself, it always comes back to around that people have to start doing the work on themselves. That's what that I think is what the foundation is lacking in most people, is that they haven't done. And I know they've taken shadow work now, and that's everywhere now that you hear that. But it's a great way to describe it. But doing the work on yourself, that's the key to this. A huge key to this is doing the work and being honest with yourself and being willing to change your beliefs, like we were saying, tear that down. But do you think that that's what most people are missing, is the work on themselves. They're looking externally for the answers when they should be internal.
Yes, the majority of people are looking external, right?
Wow.
Oh, we just have to pass these regulations and these laws. Let's restrict the right. Let's restrict the left. So they're trying to, a good allegory is from Lord of the Rings, the Ring of Power. All these factions are fighting over the Ring of Power because when you have the Ring of Power, you can do anything you want.
Hmm.
This is what government is. It's like the ring of power. So really, people are externalizing, they're projecting their internal confusion out into the world onto government saying, oh, well, we just want to get the ring of power, i.e. government, to force, to violate our will upon others. So they
Absolutely.
are externalizing it. And, shadow work, it's a very trendy term
That's the word I was
nowadays,
looking for.
especially
Trendy.
in trend. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially in the new age movement and stuff, and ultimately we need to understand that, reality works a certain way. It is objective. This is what natural law is. So understanding the threefold aspect of consciousness, thoughts, emotions, and actions.
Right.
So how our reality, how it manifests, our human experience, it is done by each individual taking actions, right? And this forms the aggregate, which creates the totality body of energy. And this is going to manifest our human experience, right? That we are co-creators. We are not individually creating our realities. So we are having a subjective experience in an objective reality. So this is what natural law is. So it's important to understand that the law of manifestation is based upon actions, meaning because we are performing the energy, we are moving the energy in the ether, in the fields, right? So, and our actions, our thoughts and emotions precede our actions. So our actions are based upon our thoughts and emotions. So, but ultimately, how we act in the world, what we do in the world, our behavior is what moves the energy a certain direction, right? And there's going to be consequences for that. So, as I think, so I feel, and so I act. This is unity consciousness. This is what the shadow work is all about. It's all about unifying the three aspects of consciousness, meaning that there's no internal contradiction, meaning what you think aligns with what you feel. There's no contradiction. Therefore, your behavior will be in harmony with natural law in accordance to nature.
That makes total sense. That makes so much sense, Will, the way you broke that down. And it's so true because I wonder how many people, their thoughts and don't jive with what they're feeling, like their heart, and I truly believe that people that they feel it, when they're doing a wrong action or they're doing something that's not quite, correct. They know. I always tell
That's
people,
the first eye.
yeah,
Yep.
I always tell
Heart
people,
space.
I always tell people, you're bullshitting yourself. Like your soul tells you, but you let your brain kind of make up all these justifications and excuses and blah. It goes on and on. But
Yeah.
when you're, and then they get that all in sync, it's so beautiful when it all works.
Absolutely.
But
Yep. The ego, when people are possessed by their ego, where the ego is dominant, they definitely that knowing, that voice from the heart space,
mm-hmm.
right? That's telling you no, that is wrong. You can feel that. Then
I
the
can,
ego
yeah.
possession, justifies it in some way or manner. And when people follow that, when they follow that ego, the voice of the ego, right? Then it almost deafens the feeling, the voice of the heart space. And so, it's about unifying. When you unify consciousness, you are the alchemical wedding of self and ego, spirit and ego come together, right? This is not about transcending the ego.
Right.
The ego has a very important protocol for this reality for the individual. So it's not about having ego death. It's about controlling the ego. I mean, you utilizing the ego as a tool for oneself.
That makes sense.
So absolutely,
That's really important.
Yep, unity consciousness, man. This is the foundation of shadow work,
For
and we
sure.
and we don't hear about it that lot. That much in these communities like the new age. It's all about feeling. It's all about what you feel. It's all about what you feel, or it's all about what you think, what you believe, right?
Hmm.
So don't think about anything negative. Oh, don't look at that negative information because it will manifest. It's not how reality
I have
works.
people that tell me that all the time, Will. And when it's crazy that if I talk about anything that's uncomfortable, they'll be like, "We can't talk about this. This is like we if you talk about anything dark, you're bringing that energy. You're going to manifest it, even if you talk about it." And then I was telling people I was reading the Satanic Bible. I just wanted to read it to know to know what my enemy's doing and what they're thinking. So I'm looking into it. I want to know their mindset. And this is crazy how the people really believe that just looking into information and taking in knowledge, it's a bad thing. They've really um, fooled people into thinking that.
It's total new age deception
It's
because in the new age
crazy.
community, they always talk about, oh, I'm doing the shadow work. I'm doing the shadow work. But what is the shadow work? The shadow work is looking at the dark aspects
Right.
of yourself,
Right.
right? So you are actually looking at the negative characteristics of your own being. So that is looking at the negative, and that is important because if the deception around don't look at the negative, this is what the social engineers want. This is why they propagate this ideology, because they don't want you to really increase your awareness, A, within yourself, and B, in the external world, like all the bad stuff that's going on. They don't want you to look at that. When it's the traverse, right? I mean, we need to understand, we need to look at the dark aspects, understand them, and then integrate them within ourselves.
Absolutely. You're so right. I always look at it too, Will, is like when these people that ignore dark topics or these any or even things about themselves that they don't like, when you ignore it. I always akin it to, it's like if you're sick and you just ignore it. It's like, well, I got something wrong with me but I'll ignore it. And then that way I won't manifesting it, and disaster is going to happen if you ignore it. And that's
Yes.
just the way I look at it. It's like you have to look at these topics. These have to be talked about. And even if you don't agree on them, you can have separate opinions. I get that. People are complex. Topics are complicated. Life is complicated. I never want to try to simplify it to the point where, because I know that like there's so many different things there's so many things going on in life and in people's lives that I think it's not as simple, one answer fits all kind of thing. And I just think that
Yeah, I think.
it's important to say that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think there is a balance, there's a median there because
Right.
yes, life can be complex, but the ego makes it way more complex than it actually
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Right? Once you understand principles and natural law, so you truly understand the way things operate, it actually is very simple because nature herself operates simply. It just
That's true.
and
Yep.
it just the effect can be in an infinite amount of variations and gradients, right? So we
Yep.
we kind of we interpret that as complexity, but this is what the social engineers want. This is why they throw all these dialectics at us, because it overrides and it overwhelms the individual, and then the complexity or the perceived complexity gets unbearable, and the person shuts down, the being shuts down.
Yep.
So this is why the law of manifestation is based on actions, right? Because like you said about being sick, if you're sick, you're not feeling good, right? And you're just sitting in your room, well, I'm just going to think I'm better. I'm going to feel
Yeah.
that I'm better. I'm going to think that I'm better. I'm going to feel that I'm better. That's not going to make you better. I mean, eventually your body's going to do what it's going to do. But if you actually get up, drink some clean water, eat some fruit, go out into the sun, move your body around, then you're going to manifest health
Way quicker.
way quicker. Exactly, exactly. That's because we are moving the energy field in a certain direction. It's like we can look at the ether, right? The field of energy all around us at all times. We can look at it as water. It's like when you're in a pool, right? And you want to get to the other side. You just don't think and feel that you're at the other side. You actually have to swim.
Action.
So you're
Yep.
making waves. So this is the dielectric of the nature of energy, right? The magnetism that is there. So if we want the floaty to come towards us, we have to move our hands in a motion where the water starts to pull towards us, right? And the floaty reaches us. Same thing with manifestation as well. If you want a new job, you just don't think I got a new job or feel like I got a new job. You actually have to go out there and actually apply, send out applications. You have to put in the work.
Yep.
This is what action is. Act, ion. Act means to perform. Ion is energy, like a charged particle, or your eye on, right?
Right. That makes total sense. Wow. And it's now, because you were talking about this, just people will want to just say things and then it'll come to them. I just think of the book The Secret and the movie The Secret, where they're like, oh, just think about it and it'll manifest. And it's just another stand down. To me, it's just another stand down agenda where they just are they're making people not take action.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. Half truths. They kind of give you the half truth and then they cut it off at that point. And then people are kind of stuck in this non-action stand down mode. That's the way I see people in most cases, is they're in this stand down mode. Or a lot of people I've talked to, they've just basically given up. They're so overwhelmed, which you did mention earlier. I think that's a good point, and that you brought up, and that to bring it back and go back to simple, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah. No, well said.
Wow, very interesting.
Well said.
Stuff.
And to tie it all to the beginning of our conversation, when you ask the majority of people, are you open-minded? The majority of people go, yeah, I'm open-minded. But what is open-mindedness? Right? To be open-minded means you are open to receive new information with a willingness to change. This is the problem. So you have all these, stand down movements, right? I mean, all these ideologies, these limiters of consciousness, these boxes that people get stuck in because they're not truly open-minded. There's a lot of truth speakers out there that are putting forward valuable information, and most people just have that emotional reaction and just put their hand up and, and turn the other cheek and walk away. So to truly be open-minded means that we have a willingness to change within ourselves.
Absolutely.
So vital.
It is vital, and that's a great way to end it, Will. And I wow, there's so much great information that you brought today. I'm so thankful that you came and did this. I look forward to our conversations. I really do. I learned so much from our discussions, and it really gets me thinking about things in a different way. And it's very powerful. And I just hope that people are willing to at least question their own beliefs and hearing what we're talking about, and to look at things maybe a little different and get more active. That's I totally agree with you, Will, that is so key. The action part is what a lot of people are missing that I talk to. They kind of know what's going on. They're willing, but they just lack the action. So very powerful conversation today, Will. Thank you so much. I want to make sure I give you the last couple of minutes. Anything you want to let people know where they can find all your work, what you have coming up, anything like that? The floor is yours, my friend.
Excellent. And I always love our conversations, Rick. They flow really good. We get into a lot of great insight, and I value your opinion and your information. And you're doing the great work, man. You're doing fantastic content, so keep it up.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the listenership that have tuned in, checked out this video. I hope you found value into it. Definitely go to my Linktree/Will Keller. You can get to all my social media platforms. I am responsive. You can get to my website, naturalfreedomleague.com. And you can message me if you have questions. I do a lot of live presentations as well. And my presentation for the upcoming Funnel 3 conference, June 24th and 25th, it will be Internal Ecology, the Art of Living Wisely. So, we touched a little bit on this earlier about morality and ethics.
Yep.
And I'm really going to dive into the internal environment, the universe inside of us, and the psychological, emotional, physical categories of one's being. So looking forward to that. What a great chat. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure. And of course, I'm also on the One Great Work Network.com under Will Keller. So please check that out.
Yeah, Linktree. I got to get a Linktree. Yeah, I know you mentioned that to me a while ago, and I just haven't got around to it. I gotta have to do that because it's just like a one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah, no, it works out good.
Yeah, definitely. And you're welcome back anytime, Will, because I do want to get you back again in the future to talk about the transhumanism movement. I like a lot of people are really people I know in my life that are so excited they would join up with technology. If you could stick a chip in their head right now and they could just be part of the whole, like they could just basically shut down and live in a tech world. Like I mean, like this Matrix, they would do it. I know they would.
Yeah, I would
That's
love
a
to come back on and talk
wow.
about that topic. That's a big topic,
Yep.
very important. It's it's the end game.
It really is. Yeah, so that can be our part 2 maybe for this one because I really want to get into that with you, but I don't want to make this one too much longer. So, definitely I will have you back and we can touch on that because as you said, I think that's a big one is where they're steering humanity. So it'll be a great topic for sure.
Excellent, Rick. I appreciate you, brother.
I do too, and I will keep in touch with you, Will, and take care. Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, my friend. You are really doing great things out there, and I really look forward to the content that you're going to be putting out. I keep an eye on it, and I learn a lot from it. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thanks, brother.
All
Right
right,
on.
have a great day, my friend.
You too.
Okay, peace, brother.
Bye.
Well, there we have it, my friends. Another incredible, incredible interview with such an incredible person. I cannot thank Will enough for coming and talking to me. We covered a lot of important topics, touched on a lot of sensitive subjects, and I just, hopefully you guys stuck through it and you listened, and it's going to get you guys thinking about the topics, that are out there. There's big topics, and we covered some of them. We're talking about a lot of different things that are sensitive to people, and a lot of people, as soon as you bring up these topics, they have a immediate reaction, and it's a tough one, but we have to have these discussions, and I'm willing to have them. And I'm trying to stay, in the middle, as neutral as I can, and look at all aspects of it. And that is what I think we all have to be willing to do. As I was saying to Will, I just think life is complicated. I get that. People are complicated. Everybody's different. So there's a lot of things. But I do love what Will said, is that you have to bring it back. Because once you really come in an alignment, you align your life to natural law, and it really becomes simple in a lot of ways. And it's just all this outside noise and all of this we're being bombarded with every day. That's what is keeping us confused and makes things complicated. So, wow, very powerful, guys. I really enjoyed that with Will, and I will have him back for a part 2. I promise you guys, because I do want to get into that topic that we were mentioning, the whole transhumanism one. That's another big one. And I do, honest to God, have friends that I really do think if you could just shut their bodies down and plug them into a computer and they could be like just wired right in 24/7, they would do it. I really truly believe that. I just know people that would. They really look forward to that. I don't. I'm just like, wow. I really once you're in a system, that's a whole topic. I'm going to leave that one for when we get Will back on here. It's a topic that I did have with Jamie J. We got into that. Of course, I couldn't play it here on YouTube. They flagged it before it even premiered. But you can find it on my Rumble channel. So head over to my Rumble channel. It's Crypt Ricks. I've been thinking, all one word. And the great thing about my Rumble channel, guys, is that there is interviews like this Jamie J one I'm speaking about, and a few other ones that I couldn't post here. That's where you're going to find those ones. So it's kind of cool, to definitely subscribe here and follow me here. But please head over to my Rumble channel, and then you'll get the benefit of seeing some of the interviews that I can't post here. So that is one of the benefits, guys, and definitely very cool and an amazing topic. I really enjoy always having Will on because we cover so many important things that, people just have to start thinking about and getting active. There's so many aspects that we have to change. I do want to go ahead. We did talk about it at the beginning, and I'm going to wrap up the show at the end with it. We are talking about the Trivium, guys. That's right. And it is going to be an amazing event. We are talking a show that is going to be 2 days long. It is a live event, live June 24th and 25th. The Trivium, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. It is a free online event, so just head over to freedomundernaturallaw.com and register. As I said, it is free, guys. Look at all the incredible speakers that are going to be there. So many to name. I can't name them all, but we're going to have, of course, the guest that I had on just now, Will Keller. We got Mark Passio. We got music from Diesel Automatic. We got Stephanie Mo Davis, Chris Jansen, Brandon Martin, Logan Hart, Leslie Powers, James True, Corey Enderlot. I mean, Mario West. There's so many. This is such a group of amazing people that are doing amazing content and powerful content. So please mark this on your calendar, guys, if you already haven't, and make sure you're there. And as we were saying at the beginning, Will and I, what makes this, to me, such a unique conference and online event is that at the end of each day, there's going to be a round table, and if you have any questions for the speakers of that day, write them down, and you will have a chance to go in and ask them yourself, get some clarification if you need it, but you will have the chance to address the speaker that you would like to speak to. If you have a question, need an answer, need some clarification, you will get that chance at the end of each day. That, to me, is what makes it so unique and so valuable and so really cool, actually, is that you get to do that. So please, guys, mark that on your calendar. That is June 24th and 25th, the Trivium. I'm going to be there. Hopefully you're going to be there, and it's going to be a great 2-day event. So check it out, guys. Make sure you head over to freedomundernaturallaw.com and register. It's free. No excuses there, guys. If it's free, you guys got to show up. So there we go, guys. I just want to thank you all once again for joining me, for joining and supporting me, joining me and supporting my shows. I appreciate each and every one of you that leave comments. I love to hear what you guys are thinking. I love the encouragement you guys are giving me. I really enjoy doing these events and these presentations that I do, the interviews that I do, the radio shows that I do. It's all to help get freedom out there, get natural law out there, teach people about it. It's so important, guys. So I do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Please stick around. Make sure you keep an eye on my channel because I got so many amazing interviews lined up this month that I'm so excited. I got some great guests lined up. So just keep an eye out. I'm going to try to post a new interview every week, which I have been holding true to for the last few weeks, or actually like the last month or so. So very cool, guys. So I just want to go ahead and wrap this one up here. It's been a long one, but a very valuable one, guys. So let me just go back in here. I want to go up and say hello once again and goodbye. Hopefully you guys are having, like I said, have a safe weekend, whenever you're listening to this. I can never tell thanks to time zones. So, you know, wherever you are, I hope you're doing great. I hope you're out there doing the great work. And just remember that you are the greatest. Nobody is better at being you than you. And I will see you very soon, guys. So take care. Take care of each other and stay safe. Peace, guys.
Are you interested in the paranormal? Murder mysteries, cryptocurrency, and thought-provoking interviews? Then check out Crypt Rick's I've Been Thinking on YouTube, or every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Studio A at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Welcome to the Crypt.